The coffee shop is called Loft on Clark, and it costs $7 for a pour-over that tastes like burned chocolate and regret. It's November 4th, 2024. Election season. The city is covered in campaign signs, and the air has that specific Chicago chill that seeps through your coat before you've walked half a block. Marcus is standing near the window holding his phone in one hand and an iced coffee in the other, even though it's 47 degrees outside and the ice is just diluting the expensive beans. He's not here for the coffee. He's here for the networking event that someone in HR sent a company-wide email about. Cross-industry mixer. Connect with leaders in finance, tech, and logistics. Free appetizers, open bar, the promise of opportunity. Marcus has been standing here for 22 minutes. He watches the room like he's studying for a test he didn't know existed. There's a rhythm to these things, a choreography that everyone else seems to have learned in a class he never took. People approach each other with confidence, shake hands with the right amount of pressure, laugh at jokes that aren't actually funny. They touch each other's arms. They lean in. They know when to leave. Marcus knows none of this. His iced coffee is sweating. Droplets of condensation run down the plastic cup, pool around his fingers, drip onto the toe of his left shoe. He notices, but doesn't move. He's trying to look casual, like he's waiting for someone, like he has a purpose here beyond just surviving, until the polite exit window opens. A woman in a cream blazer approaches a man near the appetizer table. She says something. He laughs. She touches his elbow. He touches hers back. It looks effortless. It looks like a conversation they've had 100 times before, even though they just met. Marcus looks down at his shoe. The water droplet has soaked into the leather, leaving a dark spot. He tries to wipe it off with his thumb, but it's already absorbed. He's been here 27 minutes now. The thing about networking events is that they're designed for people who already know how to network. It's like putting someone who's never swum in the deep end of a pool and calling it swimming lessons. The water is there. The other people are swimming. The lifeguard is watching, but nobody explains how to move your arms and legs at the same time without sinking. Marcus's phone buzzes. A text from his sister in Detroit. How's the thing? He stares at the screen. 3 dots appear. He watches them pulse, disappear, pulse again. He types. Fine. He deletes it. Good. He deletes that too. I'm standing by a window drinking overpriced coffee and watching strangers have conversations I do not know how to have. He deletes that one before his sister ever sees it. He puts his phone in his pocket. He takes another sip of coffee. It's watery now, the ice almost melted, the flavor completely gone. A man approaches him. This is the moment Marcus has been both hoping for and dreading. The man is older, maybe early 50s, wearing a gray suit that costs more than Marcus's monthly rent. His name tag says Michael and something about commercial real estate. His handshake is firm, practiced, exactly 2 pumps. First time at one of these? Michael asks. Marcus nods. Is it that obvious? Michael smiles. It's not unkind. You're standing near the exit. First-timers always stand near the exit. Marcus looks at his feet. He hadn't realized he was doing that. But yes, he's exactly 6 feet from the door. Subconscious survival instinct. So what do you do? Michael asks. This is the easy part. Marcus has answered this question 1,000 times. He has his script ready. I'm a senior financial analyst, mostly supply chain optimization, some forecasting, currently at a mid-sized logistics firm in the Loop. Michael nods. He asks a follow-up question about supply chain disruptions. Marcus answers. He's competent here, on the terrain of facts and numbers. He can talk about inventory turnover ratios and vendor lead times for hours. This is safe. But then Michael's gaze drifts, just slightly, just for a second. His eyes scan the room over Marcus's shoulder, looking for someone else, someone more interesting, someone who doesn't stand by the exit. "Well," Michael says, "good to meet you." The handshake again. 2 pumps, firm, over. And then he's gone. Absorbed back into the crowd, leaving Marcus alone by the window with his watery coffee and his wet shoe, and the hollow feeling that he has just failed an audition he didn't know he was in. This is the before picture. Not the dramatic before, the one with sad music and sepia lujing, just the ordinary before. The before that looks like every other Tuesday. The before that doesn't know it's about to become a story. Marcus leaves the networking event at 7:52 p.m. The official end time is 8 dusk, but he can't stand the 8 extra minutes. He walks south on Clark Street, past the boutique shops and the overpriced restaurants and the construction sites that have been active for so long they've become permanent features of the landscape. The city at night is loud, not the loud of music or conversation, but the loud of infrastructure, buses hissing at stop signs, taxi doors slamming, the elevated train screeching around a curve, metal on metal, a sound that vibrates through your teeth. Marcus walks with his hands in his pockets and his head down, counting his steps without meaning to. 73 steps to the corner of Clark and Harrison. 112 steps to the CTA entrance. 27 steps down the concrete stairs to the platform. He stands at the edge of the platform, not too close to the yellow line, and waits. A man in a Carhartt jacket is listening to something on his phone without headphones. Marcus can hear the tinny audio, a podcast or a YouTube video, the host saying something about algorithms and human behavior. He tries not to listen, but the platform is echoey and sound carries. Ever felt that knot in your stomach before a big meeting? Or that feeling like everyone's eyes are on you, judging every word you say? Today, I want to share a story about someone named Marcus, a brilliant software engineer who was trapped by his own social anxiety, especially at work. Marcus was amazing at his job. He could solve complex coding problems that left his colleagues stumped. But when it came to people, that was a different story. Team meetings were his personal nightmare. He had so many great ideas, but they were all locked inside, silenced by fear. He'd sit in the corner, hoping no one would call on him, watching others present ideas he had thought of weeks ago. His manager, Sarah, noticed his potential, but also saw his struggle. During his performance review, she didn't just focus on his code. She asked him about his experience in the team. Marcus, surprisingly, felt safe enough to admit his fear of speaking up. He expected criticism, but instead Sarah listened with empathy. She told him, "Marcus, your voice is just as valuable as your code. We need to hear it." Instead, he would just share one idea with Sarah in their one-on-one meeting each week. Just one idea with one person. The first week, it was still terrifying. He stammered. He looked at his notes a dozen times, but he did it. He shared an idea for improving their project's workflow. Sarah didn't just listen. She praised the idea and asked thoughtful questions. For the first time, Marcus felt heard, not judged. Sarah then proposed the next step. Share one of his ideas with just one other teammate, a friendly colleague named Ben. Marcus chose an idea he was particularly proud of, and approached Ben at his desk. He explained his idea, and Ben's eyes lit up. That single piece of positive feedback was like fuel to a dwindling fire. It wasn't just his manager being nice. A peer recognized his contribution. He started to realize that his ideas were actually good, and people weren't there to tear him down. They were his team. The next challenge was the big one, the weekly team meeting. Sarah came up with a strategy. Before the meeting, Marcus would email her one talking point he wanted to bring up. During the meeting, Sarah would create a natural opening for him. She'd say something like, "Marcus, you had an interesting thought about our deployment process earlier. Would you mind sharing it with the team?" He had a specific topic to talk about, one he had already prepared. He knew his manager was in his corner, supporting him. The first time he spoke, his voice was a bit shaky, but he got his point across. No one laughed. No one rolled their eyes. He felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had done it. He would prepare his points, practice them, and remind himself of his past successes. He saw them smiling, giving him a quiet thumbs up. He started speaking. His voice was clear and steady. He wasn't just reading slides. He was telling a story, sharing his passion for the project. Walking back to his desk, surrounded by his congratulating teammates, Marcus felt a sense of pride he had never experienced before.
Terence looks up, slightly surprised. "Morning." Marcus hesitates. His chest tightens, his throat closes, his brain screams, "Abort! Keep walking. This is weird." But he remembers Druski. The best audience. The listener. The receiver. "How's your morning been?" Marcus asks. Terence blinks. Then he smiles. Not a performance smile. A real one. "Quiet so far," he says. "Which is the good kind of quiet," Marcus nods. "Yeah, the good kind." He walks to the elevator. He presses the button. He waits. The doors open. He steps inside. A woman with a suitcase asks if he can press 32. He presses it. She says thank you. He says no problem. The doors close. The elevator rises. His reflection stares back at him from the polished steel. He looks tired. He looks fine. He looks like a man who just asked a security guard about his morning and survived. It's not a transformation. It's not a breakthrough. It's just 4 seconds of conversation that didn't used to exist. But it's a start. Here's what Marcus doesn't know yet, standing in that elevator, watching his reflection. He doesn't know that in 6 months, Carrots will be asking him for his adjective before he even scans his badge. He doesn't know that his sister will send him heart emojis. He doesn't know about Rashid as garbage disposal, or Elena as means, or the kid in Detroit who wants to learn how to fix things. He doesn't know that Denise will eventually give him the Henderson account, not because he proved his technical competence, but because a client told her he really listens. He doesn't know that the word Shrekked will become a kind of shorthand for everything he used to be. The performing, the striving, the desperate attempt to be someone else. He doesn't know any of this yet. Right now, all he knows is that he asked a question and someone answered. All he knows is that he survived 4 seconds of unexpected conversation, and the world didn't end. All he knows is that he's standing in an elevator, watching his reflection, and for the first time in a very long time, he's not counting his steps. The doors open. He steps out. He walks to his desk. He has no idea what's coming, but he's about to find out. The first time Marcus tried the Kevin Hart method, he almost got himself fired. It's October 2023, and we're sitting in a high-rise on West Wacker Drive in Chicago. The kind of building where the elevators have leather benches and the bathrooms smell like expensive soap you'd never buy for yourself. Marcus is 29 years old. He wears navy suits that are 1 shade too dark for his skin tone, and his glasses have blue light filters because he stares at spreadsheets 12 hours a day. He's a senior financial analyst, which means his job is to find problems that other people missed and point at them quietly. His manager, a woman named Denise who keeps a photo of her golden doodle on her desk, has just told him he needs to be more visible. So Marcus goes home that night and he does what we all do. He opens YouTube. He types in, "How to be more charismatic." And somewhere in the algorithm, he lands on a clip of Kevin Hart sitting next to a young comedian named Druski. Kevin is leaning forward, elbows on knees, and he says something that Marcus writes down on a post-it note. "You gotta do stand-up. You gotta fail." That's the ancestors' way. Marcus doesn't want to do stand-up. He doesn't want to tell jokes. But he hears the message underneath. You have to try harder. You have to perform. You have to become someone else. And that's exactly what he does. The next Monday, Marcus arrives early. He stops at the Starbucks in the lobby, the one with the marble countertops that always feels slightly sticky. He orders a black cold brew even though he hates cold brew. He thinks it looks more serious. The ice clatters against the plastic cup and he flinches, but nobody notices. Nobody ever notices. He walks into the open floor plan office. It's 8:14 a.m. The light is that weird fluorescent blue-white that makes everyone look slightly ill. He hears the distant hum of the HVAC system and the soft click-clack of someone else's keyboard already running. Marcus stands by the coffee station, cold brew in hand, waiting for someone to arrive so he can try out his new personality. His coworker Rachel walks in at 8:22. She's carrying a tote bag with a cartoon avocado on it. She's talking to someone on her AirPods, laughing about something. Marcus approaches. He tries to make eye contact. He tries to smile. He holds the cold brew at what he hopes is a casual angle. Rachel glances at him, pauses her conversation and says, "Oh, hey. You're here early." Marcus opens his mouth. He has prepared something. He watched the TED Talk about confident greetings and practiced in the mirror. He's supposed to ask an open-ended question. He's supposed to show enthusiasm. What comes out is, "Yes, I am. The coffee is adequate today." Rachel stares at him for exactly 2 seconds. It feels like 7 minutes. She says, "Cool. Okay. Yeah." Then she puts her AirPod back in and walks toward her desk. Marcus stands there. The cold brew is sweating through the cardboard sleeve, dripping onto his fingers. He can hear the drip hit the floor. He can hear his own breathing. He can feel the heat rising in his chest. That familiar signal that he has done something wrong, but he can't figure out what. This is the moment. This is where the story usually ends. This is where most of us decide, "See? I tried. It didn't work. I'm just not that guy." But Marcus doesn't leave. He stands there for another 45 seconds. And then he walks to his desk, sits down, and opens Excel. He doesn't try again for 3 weeks. Here's what Marcus didn't understand. Here's what we never understand. The villain of this story isn't laziness. It isn't awkwardness. It isn't even fear. The villain is a belief. A quiet, persistent, deeply seductive lie that we whisper to ourselves every single day.
Have you ever been in a room full of people and felt completely invisible? Or maybe you felt the exact opposite, like every single eye was on you, judging every word, every move. That was my life. My name is Marcus, and for years, social anxiety wasn't just a term. It was the architect of my world, building walls around me that felt impossible to tear down. I tried everything the internet gurus recommended. Be more outgoing, they'd say. Just be confident. Easy for them to say, right? For me, parties felt like final exams I hadn't studied for. Work meetings were minefields of potential embarrassment. Even a simple trip to the grocery store could send my heart into a frantic drum solo. The advice to just put myself out there felt like telling someone who can't swim to just jump into the deep end. It was terrifying, and honestly, it just made things worse. Every failed attempt to be the life of the party was another brick in my wall. My social anxiety painted a very specific, very cruel picture in my head. It told me I was boring. It whispered that no one was interested in what I had to say. So, my default strategy became silence. I'd stand in the corner of a room, nursing a drink, perfecting the art of looking busy on my phone. I became a ghost at my own life's events. The loneliness was crushing. I desperately wanted to connect with people, to share stories, to laugh. But the fear was a constant, suffocating weight. I was convinced that to be liked, I had to be this fascinating, witty, charismatic person I simply wasn't. The turning point wasn't some grand, cinematic moment. It was small, quiet, and happened during a conversation I was dreading with my boss, a woman named Sarah. She was known for being sharp and direct. As I walked into her office, my usual script of panic started playing. Don't say anything stupid. Nod and agree. Get out as fast as you can. But that day, something was different. Sarah didn't start with business. She looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "Marcus, you seem a bit tired today. Is everything all right?" The question was so simple, so genuine, it completely disarmed me. For a split second, the anxiety shut off. I mumbled something about not sleeping well. She listened, then shared a quick story about her own struggles with insomnia and a type of tea that helped her. It was a 5-minute conversation, but it changed everything. She wasn't judging me. She was connecting with me, and she did it not by being loud or the center of attention, but by being present, by observing, by listening. This tiny interaction sparked an idea. What if I had it all backwards? What if the secret to connection wasn't about talking, but about listening? Not just hearing words, but truly paying attention to the person in front of me. I was so trapped in my own head, worrying about my performance, that I never actually saw the people I was with. I decided to try an experiment, a little game I started calling the adjective method. It's incredibly simple. Whenever I was in a social situation, my only goal was to find 3 adjectives to describe the person I was talking to. Not their clothes or their looks, but their energy, their passion, their way of speaking. Were they thoughtful, energetic, cautious, humorous? My first real test was at a department-wide team-building event. The old Marcus would have found the nearest exit. The new Marcus walked in with a mission. 3 adjectives. I ended up talking to a woman from accounting named Chloe. Instead of worrying about what to say, I focused entirely on her. I noticed she spoke very precisely, choosing her words with care. That's 1. Meticulous. She told a story about her weekend hiking trip, and her whole face lit up. That's 2. Adventurous. When someone interrupted her, she waited patiently, and then gently guided the conversation back. That's 3. Poised. Suddenly I had things to ask her about. That sounds like a challenging hike. What was the most beautiful part of the trail? My questions weren't forced or generic anymore. They came from a place of genuine curiosity because I was actually paying attention. For the first time, I wasn't performing. I was participating. My anxiety was still there, a low hum in the background, but it no longer had the microphone. My focus had shifted from myself to the other person. The adjective method became my secret weapon. It worked everywhere. At a friend's barbecue, I talked to an older gentleman. My adjectives for him were nostalgic, proud, and gentle. This led to a fascinating conversation about his time as a carpenter and the house he built for his family. I wasn't thinking about myself. I was completely absorbed in his story. I realized that people are fascinating. Everyone has a story, a passion, a unique way of seeing the world. And most people are just waiting for someone to be interested enough to listen. This shift in focus had an incredible side effect. The pressure to be interesting completely vanished, because when you are genuinely interested in others, you become interesting to them. It's a paradox. The less I tried to impress, the more I connected. My conversations became richer and more meaningful. I started building real friendships at work. I even started looking forward to social events, not as a test, but as an opportunity to learn, to discover, to connect. The adjective method isn't a magic cure for social anxiety. There are still days when the old fears creep back in. But now, I have a tool. It's a way to redirect my focus from the storm inside my head to the person standing right in front of me. It's a reminder that connection isn't about a dazzling performance. It's about presence. It's about seeing someone, truly seeing them, and letting them know they've been heard. So if you're like I was, trapped behind those invisible walls, I want you to try this. The next time you're in a conversation, put all your energy into listening. Try to find those 3 adjectives. Don't worry about what you're going to say next. Just listen. See what happens. You might be surprised to find that the most charismatic people aren't always the loudest speakers. They're often the best listeners. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to change where you put your attention. Shift the spotlight off yourself and onto others, and watch those walls start to come down, one conversation at a time. Thanks for listening to my story. If this helped, consider subscribing for more. I'll see you in the next one. He opened his mouth and the words tumbled out, not what he had practiced, but something different. Hey, Rashid, he started. Adjective for today. He thought for a moment, leaned against the counter and said, treading water, you know. Not sinking, not swimming, just keeping my head up. Marcus, who hadn't planned for a follow-up, could only manage a simple,